Thank you. Public comment, there's no one present for public comment tonight. So we will go right into the approval of the minutes from our June 2nd, 2021 board meeting, which you should have all had a copy. Any corrections?
Yeah, I've already gotten all feedback, it's all
Yeah.
incorporated.
So the motion reads, approve the June 2nd, 2021 board meeting minutes as written.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain because I wasn't there for the whole meeting.
And treasurer's report?
Wait, does it pass?
Yeah, you
Yes,
only need
because we
three.
can, three of us
Okay.
did, so I just couldn't make the motion in second, but you guys did.
Thank you.
I know, that's always the question when we're short, where we're down a member. Let's see, the vouchers are there. I don't believe Les left any note as opposed to anything.
No, those numbers are right off his report.
Yeah.
Am I reading this correctly? $225,000 for uniforms?
What page is that, Steve?
Page 2 of 5.
2 of 5.
Yeah, that does look like it's a type, oh, those are for the
That's
SCBA's,
the
Right,
air
so
pack.
for the air packs.
Oh, that's it.
There's-
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Protective clothing / uniforms is one item.
Yeah, the bill came in for that. But thank you, yes, that would seem to be a lot for uniforms.
For some uniforms, yeah, good for me.
Well, we had to get them fitted in one way.
Yeah, right, yeah. Probably the time uniforms.
And they're supposed to hear by the end of this month whether or not we got the,
The status is
They're
still
hoping
out
to
there.
get
They're
one,
hoping July is, I think Nash has it. in
He
his
addresses
report
2 grants in
that-
his
Yeah,
report.
that was.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, also if you notice your operating statements still reflect the mixture of this year that ended on May 31st and this year, we haven't spent over $1 million yet, so I don't want you to be scared. But once the AUD is done, then that usually August is where we see the actuals for this year and all of last year's backed out of the system. But he can't do that until our AUD is complete. And then balance sheets through May 31st are in there as well. And then as always, feel free to reach out to Les, email or telephone if you have specific questions in regards to any of the items. I know for department heads, it's a little tricky right now with the system still showing last year and this year, trying to figure out where you're at month to date, but Les can help with that. If there was a particular item you were looking at. Mayor's report, we are having the firehouse groundbreaking ceremony on July 17th, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m. All are welcome to attend. Right there on 313. It's a big, wide, vacant spot now, so we're just gonna all meet there, and it'll be just a quick little brief thing just to commemorate the moment. And then after that, it will be a construction zone. It might even be a little bit at the beginning point, so if you come up and see certain fencing, taped off areas, just try to avoid those. But it's very exciting to finally have a date for that. And the contractors have been meeting with Rich, and they're all ready to roll. So It's very exciting to see that happen. It also leads me to my second point, which is the firehouse stove issue. And I'm going to pull up some info from Rich. The current stove that we had for the firehouse kitchen is just a regular residential stove, like the one that they have at the current firehouse, with a residential hood over it. County code enforcement is wanting something a little bit more, and they had reached out to the state to get some follow-up information. They still have not forwarded me the actual letter from the state that they received, but they gave us 3 options, which Rich from CT Mail is holding steady, that what he cited in the state fire code does not require this, because this is for the fire department itself. It's not a commercial cook stove. It is not even capable of making food for fundraising. The county's concern is that people will be cooking in there and cause a grease fire and burn down the firehouse.
That would be ironic.
That would be, their letter stated that fires still happen in firehouse houses, which they do, yes, they do. Except this is not gonna be a stove that will be utilized by the public for commercial use, or for the fire department to prepare food for fundraisers. It's just not suited for that. It's more for them, if they're there any length of time, they can reheat, or they can cook a thing of soup on the stove top. It's just 4 burners in an oven. And so initially, Rich had asked if switching to electric as opposed to gas made a difference, which initially kind of seemed like it did, and then it is not. So the 3 options we have, and Rich needs us to make a decision on this tonight, because it does require him to do some prep work. They did grant us permission to go ahead and begin building the firehouse, despite not having this kitchen thing sorted out, but we cannot do anything to the kitchen until they do approve it. So one of the options is to do the proper commercial stove with ventilation, and the amount that Rich gave, he guesses that it would be in the 15,000 to 18,000 price bracket to do this, with a considerable amount of redesign, including modifications to the kitchen layout to accommodate required clearances to the combustibles. This will likely involve eliminating cabinetry and adding a stainless steel wall behind the stove hood area, new exhaust, mechanical, electrical. So those are all things. The other option they gave in their thing is to find a UL rated type 1 hood. He has not been able to even find if they exist. It's a type 1 hood with a ventilation and ANSL suppression system that accommodates a 30-inch residential stove. But online, floating around, asking around, he just cannot find the stove that they're referencing exists. He did find a smaller one than the 30-inch, which is roughly about $8,000, not counting all the modifications to the building to do to get that. The other option is a state variance. It is putting in a variance to the state and requesting them to make an exception, which we probably have a good shot at, because we do have members on our firehouse committee who actually reached out to State Fire themselves and explained what was going on. The one individual at State Fire said that they were going to actually be sending me a letter to submit to county to concur with what CT Mail has found, that this is not a commercial grade stove. They're not going to use it in that capacity, and that we shouldn't. And CT Mail has designed other firehouses in other counties that are like this, that do not have the full hood suppression system, etc. So he says the village would be far better off proceeding with a variance request, as I still feel that the basis for the requirement is unjustified based upon the actual intended use and interpretation of the code. So the way CT Mail is, and the other fella that our firehouse committee spoke with, both feel the interpretation doesn't support this facility needing a stove like they're saying. So the variance, so if we want to do a state variance, he needs to be able to file that like ASAP. So So it says, let's see, he attached me a copy of the variance form that would need to be submitted, and there is a fee to do that through the state. It's a $300 fee, so I would need permission to do the variance and the fee of $300. And then they'll go from there and hopefully have it sorted out by the time it comes to the finished work in the kitchen, late winter, early spring. So yeah, the first step in this process would be for us to reach out to Building Standards and Codes Division with the Department of State, request a variance, which is usually in front of a hearing board of review. Some requests can be resolved through administrative process with a staff member. Appeals is always an option. And so that's where we're at with this. So, any follow-up questions to the long list of?
The funds for any additional costs would come out of the $3.7 million, or it's additional on top?
That
of
would
what
be
we
on
already
top, that is not
Additional.
budgeted in there, yeah. So the 15 to 18,000, if we wanted to do the full-fledged hood system, that suppression system that they're saying we need.
We'd have to figure out. where
We'd
that-
have to, yes,
Okay.
yeah, it would be additional. Rich feels if we file for the variance, if they say no, then we can revisit the other stove options if that's what we want to do. Which we'd have to make a decision on that rather quickly after we got, because this building will not get its CO if we don't comply with what county code wants us to comply with. So.
Do you have a general pot of money you're allowed to use for this $300 cost, or do we have to decide which budget line that would come out of?
I think we got some wiggle, we can do it right from the firehouse one, and if it ends up at the end of next year, we see the capital fund is, short 300, we can kick the 300 over to it.
The variance option seems probably best for now. Right?
Yeah.
For me.
I agree.
Yeah. So do you want to work up a motion for that, Lance? Motion to approve.
The request for variance.
Yeah, it's pretty straight up. It's, approve $300 for variance request in order to,
Well,
variance request,
that's the fee, so you could put approve
payment of
approve applying for the state variance for the firehouse kitchen stove, including the $300 state permit fee,
approve applying for state
state variance fee.
Currently use of current stove hood, including $300 application fee. Approve applying for state variance for use of current stove and hood in firehouse, including $300 application fee. Because we already have that current stove and hood in our plans, right?
Right, but it's not about that stove, because we could switch out the residential stove, it's
For
a
the type
variance.
of-
I guess you could say for a variance on state requirements, because that's essentially, the county is saying that will not comply with the state uniform building code, but then we have others who are saying it does, so we would go in front of that board to let them decide and interpret the code.
Okay, approve applying for state variance for kitchen requirements for firehouse.
Kitchen stove, quick stove, because it's specific to
Kitchen
the
stove
stove.
requirement, there we go. Kitchen stove requirements. For firehouse. Approve applying for state variance for kitchen stove requirements for firehouse, including $300 application fee.
Sounds good. I think we made it.
I'll make that motion.
It is.
I'll second.
All yours, Steve.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, guys. Yeah, we have enough time to get it worked out before we actually get to the point where the stove would need to be installed. And anything, that's the thing is, it would be a change in work order, and we haven't even started building the building yet. And that's where things, start adding up when you start changing those work orders. for the electrical or the mechanical or any of that. And I'd rather try to avoid going down that. And I do, I do appreciate the county's effort to try to make sure this building is built safely, and to standards. But it is a tad bit frustrating that, they're holding to this, yet I've informed them of a location in the village that slapped in a bunch of little stove kitchenettes that are 3 feet away from a bedspread, and there's been no action taken on that to date. So that's where my frustration level is kind of at right now. Yet at the same time, we have to try to do our best to make sure to work well with code enforcement, because at the end of the day, they are the ones issuing the CO. So thank you. And then the American Rescue Plan Act funds. So initially, when we heard about this lovely program, it was you had to do nothing and the money would be deposited into your account. Of course, that's changed. And I received notification mid-June stating that we had to go on and apply for the funds before July 9th, which is basically just typing in your municipality, your DUN number, your TIN number, and info about the village saying, yes, we would like to apply for the funds. And so that was complete. We got that taken care of. And now the state has all the info they need from us to get the funds to us. Income survey door to door is starting tomorrow. So if you see unfamiliar gentlemen walking around the village knocking on doors, they are then. So, if you're home and they knock, please answer. It's a very short, brief couple questions that they ask you, which will greatly help our eligibility to get back to a low to moderate income community. That information is required in order for us to be able to meet the criteria to be back at that level again.
Did they let you know how the response was to the mailings?
I think the response was really good. I do have a number of envelopes that were returned to center, must be apartments, people that moved. There's probably 50, 60 out there, which in my mind I thought was a lot. But then when talking with Jay from the company, he said, oh no, that's not a lot at all. You're actually getting really great response rates. So very glad to hear that. Thank you to all those that did mail those back. But if you didn't mail it back, they probably will be knocking on your door this week. So that's going on, and that is it for me. Everything has been firehouse. Barring any questions from the board members.
So back to the American Rescue Plan funds. You had to send paperwork to the state saying that you wanted the money?
Well, I had to do it online.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
If you didn't do it online, you're automatically declining the funds.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so I actually had to fill it out that yes, no, we do want the funds.
I wonder if there must be municipalities who want to turn the funds down. Well, I wonder why the state would do that.
I
That's so
don't
weird.
know. I have no
Why that
idea.
extra hoop to jump through?
And it's only those, because we're considered a non-entitlement community because we have a population of less than 50,000. Anybody over is automatically an entitlement. They didn't have to do this, but all of the smaller municipalities, yeah, if you had less than 50,000, you're non-entitlement, and non-entitlement needed to fill this out. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we did our part. That's all in there, and now we just wait and see what happens.
And a topic that's a blast from the past, and I won't blame you if you don't have any further information on it, but the solar farm up at the whole.
Oh, actually, Vincent Petruzzo, who is the rep from DEC, what's the federal one? Environmental.
Oh,
EPA. He actually sent me an email last month saying his target date for doing the walkthrough and assessment of the landfill property is July. It was last July too, but because of everything that happened. But he definitely will let me know when they're doing the walkthrough. And I told him, look, we're really interested in doing something with that property, but this EPA information will tell us if it's feasible, and that's what we really need. Instead of having to pay a company to come out and assess if it's feasible, and then, so yeah, so their target month is July. So hopefully at next month's board meeting, I'll have some info. I'm trying not to push because they're doing it for free,
Okay.
so that's kind of their time frame. But yeah.
Great, thanks. That's all I got.
All right. Chief Alexander put in his report for us. And He's got a lot of great info just about all vehicles, etc. But he does have one request, which is to approve Zachary Tolman to the membership of the Cambridge Fire Department. So the motion would read, approve Zachary Tolman of North Park Street in Cambridge for membership in the Cambridge Fire Department pending completion of administrative and medical requirements.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then you can look over his report. It gives an update on each of the vehicles, and the project section does say 2020 assistance to firefighters grant is still in a delayed status.
That's the one we're waiting for,
That's the
right?
one, yep.
Okay, so,
They also did apply for the DC wildland firefighting grant as well. That helps, I believe, when it comes to protective equipment, that they put that grant toward.
ETA 222, that's gonna be a big cost for the department, I'm guessing, right? That's one of the equipment that they're working to replace. That's one of the big trucks?
Yeah,
ETA?
that's the biggest
The biggest one, okay.
Yeah, they're looking at vendors, which you could probably reach out to Nash too and check it out, because I do believe this is the truck that typically your truck to truck, it bounces between the membership and the village. I believe this one is the village's turn.
This is the village's turn.
yeah, because
okay.
the department
Yeah.
just bought their tanker truck.
Yep,
Good to know.
which of course, since it is the village's purchase, we would be involved in the actual process with the vendors as well to decide what's
Yeah.
what we can afford
Gotcha,
on
so.
that. But they're a little bit distance away from that, because
Oh,
they
okay.
haven't put a model to us to say, this is what we're looking at, it's X number of dollars. They haven't gotten to
That's
that point yet.
that's the process though. They'll look for a model and come to you
Yeah,
guys and
they'll
we'll
talk to the
say.
vendors and get the specs and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
that's
And
it.
they come to us and say, this is the truck we feel we need,
Gotcha.
this is what the cost would be through this vendor. They might be able to get a cost from another vendor, and maybe a couple competing costs.
Right, which
Decide if we can afford it or not.
I don't know,
Right.
well, that's why I said, this year we bought the firehouse and the air packs but it takes a while. I mean, usually from the time they start looking at trucks till actually getting it arrived is like a 2.5 year process.
It's a
from the time
long
they start.
process.
It's a
I don't know if
long,
it's that long, but yeah, it's a
So-
long process.
But we would lean on the members of the department to look for like the members of the fire, the village members of the fire department committee you guys aren't gonna be doing Google searches for possible
no, because they're
vehicles.
so specific, like
Gotcha,
basically
gotcha.
the FD lists out, here's what our other one had, we want this, 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 and this.
Yep.
I mean, fire trucks are such a specialized
Yeah,
thing,
no,
it's
right.
so hard. Now, different vendors do different packages, and so
Mhm.
that's what the fire department will compare, oh, we like, this package they wanna do, this, and this, better than this, and this,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a little tricky when it comes to the fire trucks, because it is such a specialized vehicle.
Absolutely. Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. DPW, Matt, you are up.
All right, we did several activities of dumping trash cans, mowing and trimming, of picking up brush. We do that once a month now. We patched holes. I marked out 200 feet of sidewalk. We're gonna be starting next week. I went and spent our chip money. I ground Pearl Lake, Pleasant, and Ford streets for blacktopping. We blacktopped them the following week. I also been using the reclaiming of the road along the roadsides where the blacktop is higher than blacktop is higher than the grass. I clean out the fuel shed because DEC come for the inspection this year, and we passed with flying colors. And we also assisted on water main break in front of Broad and Main Street because all the streets drains now is owned by the village. The state turned them over in 1971.
71.
So all the catch basins and piping underneath Main Street and all side streets are all ours now.
Which DOT was, we
Which
did have
DOT
a culvert up there that they
Yeah,
brought
they had-
down at no charge to us simply
Because
because they
they're all
had.
rotten, of course, probably, why they hand them all to us, but.
Yeah, so while American Water Grid was fixing their leak, when they opened the ground, they saw the condition of the culvert, and that's when we
The
met.
state
called
seen it and
Matt.
said, this is yours, Matt.
Yeah.
Huh? On Main Street? Yep. So, yeah, we
Yeah.
went up there, and had the mayor come down, she took the pictures of the drainage and stuff, and I got some pictures. We installed, a security system down in the library for the gazebo. And,
So it's tapped right into Danko's office?
no, it's
No?
packed in the library and,
The monitor at
it's
the
all locked
library,
and
so they can-
keyed and,
Okay.
and, we got some new village signs for side streets. I put up 18 of them, and somebody in the village didn't like the ones that we put up, and, I guess the next day it come up amongst them missing, but we can't prove that the person took it. But he's the one that noticed it, emailed the mayor, told him that the sign was missing.
Wait, what sign?
So,
New street signs.
So
We
we
got some old
noticed
village street signs on the
the
side
white-
streets.
so we have the
Yeah.
So I
historic
got the
looking,
nice state
the white and black.
approved green lettering and white background reflective, and I guess the guy didn't like it, or the person didn't like it, and said something about it, and the next day it was missing, and he's the only one that complained about it, and of course you can't prove that he took it, but
And I don't know,
Yeah.
can't
he
speculate.
can't, but
The historic looking signs that are the white and black, they're not reflective. So at night you can't see them. So the state is trying to turn it all over to the green and reflective signs. Also, the historic signs we probably can't afford because those were part of the Main
Street.
streetscape improvement that happened, 15, just
Yeah.
happened before I came here.
about 13, 14 years
13,
ago, and at
14
that
years ago.
time, they were like $200 some odd dollars a piece.
As opposed to the $40 signs we're getting now,
Now
which
that,
are being stolen, but, so yeah, so we're converting the signs.
Yeah.
I mean, the historic ones are nice, but the state is right, they are not reflective, and
The state's the one who gave us approval for those. I was on the board at that time. It was part of
you
our.
know, but it's changed, your signage has changed
And
since then.
now they're changing, I know.
Well, they went, I see, they went from 250 down to 40, so they're a lot better.
Well, the state approved everything we did on that
Right,
project,
they
because it
did,
was on
absolutely.
372.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. So yes, so here we are, 14 years later, and now the preferred signs, which, even if we want to replace the white and black signs, we probably can't afford them at a couple $100 a pop as opposed to $40, based on the number of street signs we have, but, yeah, so if you see new signs, that's why. DPW building, that was the big,
Oh, yes,
What to
we had a tree come down and crush the roof. We cleaned that up, the insurance guy is supposed to be coming tomorrow at 8 o'clock to see what's gonna happen.
Our insurance or their insurance?
I do believe our insurance comes first, like they did last time, when they fuel pumped, then they went after.
Then they can go after
Lots and
their
Yeah.
insurance. I have a little bit of experience.
insurance and insurance.
And neighbors' trees.
Insurance. Trees and insurance.
And did anything ever come out of the water leak break, with notification from the water company? From
Well,
American Water?
that was a scheduled hookup that they were shutting off last
Okay.
Tuesdays.
That's not, my understanding is that's not what the men on the street said. They said they hit something that was unexpected.
I don't
That
know.
was a drainage pipe we're
Okay,
talking about. That-
But no, they're talking about last Tuesday when the water was shut off, because notice. that
Yeah, for an hour and a
there's-
half. It was shut off for an hour and a half.
Right, but was that because of breakage or because?
No, that's because the Agway is getting a new service
Right.
plan,
okay.
and,
I didn't hear about a breakage,
Yeah.
so I don't.
yeah.
Just when, I
It
know when
was
David
certified
asked.
a
if-
fire line too, they're putting in for their sprinkler system.
Okay, but I know we had these conversations, but like there were 30 kids that didn't have access to water in the middle of a heat wave and a pandemic, and they say that they gave out notification, but it didn't get where it needed to, so it seems like that system, like we need to look at that. It was lucky that it wasn't a
that's
day that.
Every person, I went around and Mark Rogers, we talked to every person on that block
Okay,
Friday before Tuesday come along. And everybody knew what was gonna happen, so they can't say that it wasn't.
can I ask who you spoke to at Hubbard Hall?
I spoke to a white-haired lady that sat down in front. She says the other part wasn't open for the daycare school thing, and she would notify him.
Okay, she was,
She said she was gonna do it, I didn't have to do it.
okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll also segue that as well. I had, that evening, I had a couple renters reach out to me who lived in one of the buildings, also with concern about not getting notification.
Yeah,
Their landlord was notified. The problem is that if you do not receive a National Grid bill directly to yourself, National Grid doesn't know you exist. They notify whoever's name is on that bill.
okay,
And the one building in question only has 1 meter, even though there's apartments.
yeah,
So I did reach out to the owner of that building, and he did say that, yes, he was notified, and he did not get word to all of the tenants at the time, which I encouraged him to please reach out to your tenants and make sure they're aware, and let them know, because they emailed me very extremely upset.
yeah, it was one of those really hot days.
Extremely upset, and I, some of them, used verbiage that you probably, don't email me saying, what is the village government good for, when this has nothing to do with the village government. Now, that one person did send back a response after saying, I did talk to my landlord, and it is, as you stated, he did receive notification, and thank you. So all is good. But I want to remind everybody that the water is not municipal. It is not municipal. It's the private company. And then, even updating for us regular residents, make sure your information on your bill is accurate. I know if American Water tried calling me, my house, they wouldn't get me because I have my home phone number on it from 8 years ago. I got rid of and only have my cell phone. So that's why they actually do door-to-door visits, because if they only have a certain email, certain phone number, and it's disconnected, well, they have to tell someone. And door-to-door connection is the best way to do that. But yes, if you have a built-in building that has multiple purposes, like some have blower shops and apartments upstairs, definitely make sure everybody in your building is notified, because that
Yeah.
situations happen,
Dangerous.
like, and it's not fun to be in those
Yeah.
situations at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you a quick question? The marked out sidewalks for repair, where are you guys?
They're right down from her house, Alex's house. Where
Nice.
we left off last year, there's 200 feet going there, and I have a couple 100 feet. Hopefully, I'm gonna do 100 feet from Gilmore down to Clark's Pizza, just before the driveway, by Joe Rouse's house. And I have a couple small patches up on East Main Street.
I think I've asked this before, but do you have a calendar that you follow every single year? Or do you guys
No, I go when
audit each year?
After plow season, I go see where sidewalks are broke up,
Gotcha,
and we go from there.
that makes sense. Cool, thank you.
And there's also Connie and Rick Letter Barnes did the sidewalk audit too, if that's helpful at all.
Oh, yeah, all right.
So just see you.
And you guys would only look for places to repair. There's never any ideas to lay down new sidewalk, right?
Oh, yeah, they leave
Oh, no.
a new
Oh, you guys
sidewalk.
Lay it down, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I go like, down by Alex's house, they're only 4 foot wide and they're all broke up.
Yeah.
Well, our new plow is 5 foot, so I make the sidewalk 5 foot wide.
Cool, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Yeah, usually you hit, and by the time you get done with West End, it's time to start on the East Main Street
Yeah,
and work your way
exactly.
back up Main
Exactly.
Street again each year.
And this is a controversial topic, but on Academy, the slate, what happened?
Yeah. The
Do we
slates are pain.
I think they're lovely, but that, like, I don't run on them. I run in the middle of the street because they're dangerous.
I know
like-
Salem's going through right now, their DPW are ripping up all the slates.
Yeah.
Because they're slippery when it rains. Their plows, they pick them up because they're all broken. So they're getting rid of theirs because their insurance company, which I do believe is the same as ours, Neimer, they said, if you rip them up, that's up to you because it's your problem because you maintain them. And if you want to put whatever you put down, then make them safe, you can. But when I start touching slate sidewalks here, people go nuts.
Yeah, no, I
It is.
understand.
Which it would be great, and I actually
It would be
talked,
great, but
I
I'd get a
talked
bigger
to
highway
the-
crew than what I got to fix slate sidewalks.
I had talked to LaBerge about that, of keeping an eye, because they do know that sometimes there are grants for sidewalk improvement that maybe could be used on the side streets. Typically, the village government would use them for the ones we are responsible to maintain, but the other, side streets, because the slate ones, I mean, the slate, even on Broad, should be lifted up, repointed, and flattened back out again. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're all like this, and so, but it's a fortune to do that. If you happen to have a company that works the slate and knows about that, do that. So I told them to keep me apprised if they hear of any that talk about, preserving slate or historic charm type things for sidewalks, to let us know, because that'd be.
The
Great.
village owns that stretchy
Well,
sidewalk?
no,
Broad, or
if it's
is
the
that
homeowner, we
Right,
can help
right.
apply because it's the homeowner's responsibility to maintain it.
Maintain it,
Which
okay.
is why some people have opted to have the slate removed and have the concrete poured. Which is also, that maintaining piece is where the residents say, well, if I have to maintain it, I want it to stay slate. But then it gets in such poor condition that people get hurt. It's tricky waters,
Yeah.
the way our sidewalk stuff is established
Sure.
here. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Thanks. All right, Sergeant Danko, you were up, sir.
For the month of June, we had 21 cases reported to the Department of Criminal Justice for a total of 84 for the year. We had 12 arrests for June for a total of 48. We handled 55 calls of service for a total of 275. We had a spike in motor vehicle accidents for the month. We had 6 for a total of 17. We had a total of 50 traffic tickets issued for June for a total of 170. And below are the breakdowns of the arrests. And to reiterate what Matt said, we finally finished the conundrum with the security system, but we have it all installed. And it's secured within the library, and we all have access to it.
Awesome,
If there's
good,
anything
thank you.
like that.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Just real quick, Sergeant Panko, the NA miles on Unit 112, just curious.
Yeah, when I went and did the miles for the report, it was actually out for an oil change, so I didn't have access to the vehicle.
Perfect. Makes sense to me.
All right, thank you. Youth report, Emily has provided. She gives her apologies for not making it tonight. She had a scheduled conflict for that, but they're in full summer camp mode. Summer camp starts next Monday, so they're getting ready for that and are looking forward to that. She does have one motion. She would like to hire a student youth aide, which we don't typically hire our summer people, like, do each of them, do we?
No.
So I don't think we even need this because we don't approve a motion to hire any of the summer.
Yeah, all the summer counselors are just hired by.
Yeah, because they're part-time,
Okay,
seasonal employees. I mean, we can do it if we wanna, but I mean, we haven't approved
No,
any of our other summer camp counselors
right.
for the season.
It was
So
just to
we'll
give
we'll cross-
visibility, but if we've just given it visibility, so.
Yeah, so we'll cross that out. And yeah, just make sure she has fills out the paperwork with you and Les for timesheets and taxes.
And she doesn't need us to approve her proposed brand, right? I love it. That's great. Let the adventure.
No,
What a great
she
idea.
reached out to me to ask if she needed a resolution for, a theme, Let the Adventure Begin as her theme that she wants to use.
I like it.
I said, no, we typically have it in the past. You can have summer camp themes, after school, any theme you want to do, names. So she just wants to start on social media, kind of having that theme out there and is working on a bunch of different stuff for summer camp and then after school as well. She's already got some phenomenal ideas
Good.
for
Great.
that.
Okay.
Assessor, you were up, sir. Pretty quiet right now, right? Tax time is done. Thank you. You'll see the ZEO's report. Of course, it's summertime, so of course the ZEO is filling up quite a few LRCC ones through the county permit. Everybody's doing home improvements and summertime improvements. And you will notice on there June 17th, meeting with legal regarding proper procedures regarding our zoning laws. So Rich Sweeney from the planning board, Bill, ZEO, and myself did an online meeting with Cara to discuss 51 South Park Street, the motel situation that we found ourselves in, and we have a good legal game plan for addressing that. And Bill mailed out a letter, notice of violation, And they have 30 days to comply, or then it will be reviewed by the planning board because of that special use permit. For running apartments out of a building that had a special use permit of a motel. So that's a little update on that.
So the owner will have 30 days to change everything in the property? Or
Well, not
they'll-
change.
Or just respond to that?
He has 30 days to cease the violation, which is doing month-to-month rentals, long-term rentals, as opposed to true motel use.
Gotcha.
So if there's still signs that it's not being operated as a true motel, then they'll take action. And I
is
think
that
30
a-
days is the end of July.
Is that a village violation or are they violating county law?
That's a village violation because we have zoning and that property had a special use. County, we don't enforce the other aspects,
Of course.
so that's county's part.
But have they gotten involved?
They have come out and looked. I haven't
Okay.
gotten any updates in
Gotcha,
regards
gotcha.
to any violations that they have issued, et cetera, as of this point. But from our end, Bill and the planning board can only handle what is infraction of our laws,
Gotcha.
which is the zoning.
And that
Yeah.
absolutely makes sense, obviously. Now, if the special use permit is taken away, then what happens? Do they
If the
have to-
special use permit is revoked, then county will be notified that property is in violation of the zoning laws
Gotcha.
and is not allowed to operate as such, which would more than likely trigger county pulling their certificate of occupancy.
Then they
Because
can-
that's
Okay.
part of the certificate of occupancy, is that you're complying with the local laws.
Absolutely. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, where are we at? Zoning board, I don't believe they met.
They
We
did
did
not
get
meet.
planning board meeting minutes.
Yeah.
Basic planning board issues. Attorney Cara is on vacation, pretty much firehouse contracts, over and over and over. That has been the bulk of the month. And then no new issues that she needed to bring before us for anything else. Historian is in there, and I don't see anything from the library yet, but I don't know if they're even having their library
Yeah.
meetings yet. I do know Christine's, they're open, I believe now, and they have,
I know they're working,
Programs,
because I got a bunch
yeah.
of bills from them, so.
yeah, so. And clerk, you are up, sir.
All right, big muscle movement last month is primarily tax collection, of which quite a bit took place. You see the amount on there and as usual, about 30 minutes after I printed this, someone came in and paid. So it's pretty safe to say we're above 85% collected already. Already got a phone call from someone else who's coming in this week to get their stuff paid. So things are continuing well on pace.
Can I ask you a quick question in
course.
regard to payments? How do we accept payments? Is it just check or people walk in with cash?
Check, money order, cash.
We don't take electronic payments?
We do not.
Okay. Just curious about that. Thank you.
Registrar, 20 certificates resulted in $200. We had the Lions have requested to use Memorial Park for their concert series, and you see the motion in there. If anyone would be willing to make this motion, approve use of Memorial Park for Cambridge Lions 2021 Summer Concert Series on Thursdays, that's July 22nd, 29th, and August 5th and 12th. And they included their insurance with the request.
Is the gazebo gonna be ready for, I saw it was taped off, so I'm just curious.
They can draw power off. it.
I encouraged Jimmy to reach out to Maddie, to discuss that, because I do know the Lions, are interested in contributing funding toward maintaining the gazebo as part of their give back to the community, and actually hire the people that would be working on it, et cetera, to do that. But I don't know if that'll be wrapped up before the 22nd, the repairs that are needed due to this last vandalism that happened. Some of the floorboards are actually
Yeah.
vandalized this time, not just the
I got the
ceiling.
whole floor down the highway patch, all granite floor.
Well, see, that's what you tell Jimmy when he calls you, and he can,
I mean, as long as they're willing to do their concerts on the ground, if it's not ready, I
yeah,
saw
they
that it was
are.
all taped off, so. I was
Yeah, they
just
can do them in
curious.
front of the gazebo on the grass if need be.
They're going down Durham Park, so it's even better, right?
Huh?
No, it's.
No, it's at the
Memorial Park.
library, yeah, the summer concerts would be right at the library.
Somebody was there the other day. I don't know if.
Yeah, it was a band there.
Yeah, there was a
That was a group
church.
that had
Church,
used
yeah.
the ground,
It was a
the
church
grass
revival thing.
for,
Yep.
for their
And there were quite a few people there.
park use.
Well, it was a
Yeah.
bunch of churches, I understand, kind of got together for that event.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but they had filled out their app and got it to Lance for park use during that.
I don't, like today, it was, I don't know, it's a quilting or knitting class that meets there. I've seen them a couple times.
Yeah, there's
Some
some little
ladies
groups
who
that
go
are
down in their lawn
informally.
chairs and sit there and knit
Yeah.
and talk.
Something like those attract the wrong element.
Just a question about process, so the board didn't approve anything for that, but we have to approve this? What's the difference?
Typically, so what happens is typically, because our meetings are only once a month, so if someone submits during the month, you know, Lance has the authority to just approve if
Oh,
it's,
okay.
you know, doesn't need special, what have you. If it's gonna be a major event or a deal, that's where it gets kicked to us.
Or it's
Typically,
multiple days?
The
like this?
Lions is just programmed to make sure it's in for that,
Okay.
that
Just
meeting.
curious.
Generally, if all things being equal, I'll put something before the board, just so you guys have visibility as far as what's going on.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Makes sense.
And anything that's gonna attract, that's the thing too, if the Lions are gonna actively publish it out to the greater community, so typically those type of things we like to approve,
Gotcha.
as opposed to singular events that are just a group of so many coming together,
Yep.
like the 5 churches that had their little picnic thing. It wasn't something that was broadcast to the greater public, like a large event that would attract a lot of people.
That makes sense.
But they did provide liability insurance as well.
Yes.
They were, yeah, if
Absolutely.
you're gonna have, the knitters don't have to, because there's, you know, small numbers, but if you're inviting a mass of people, we do like to see that insurance.
Because generally the needles are dull, so.
Yeah.
Of course, it's all moot if no one is interested in making sense.
And anytime, so like parade permits that do require the shutting down the roads and police protection, we always put those in front of the board,
Absolutely.
for those, as opposed to park space only.
Well, I make the
I will
motion to approve the concerts.
And I will second.
Okay, outstanding.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
And-
opposed?
And the last thing I have in there is court report, just so you can see what's coming in from Judge Flint in court. So pending your questions, that completes my report now.
Thank you. Thank you, yeah, we do not need an executive session tonight, so.
And we gave Bill every chance.
Yeah.
Can I just go back and ask one question?
Sure,
So we're not asking the staff for the youth commission, we don't know if they're gonna be vaccinated, we're not requiring them to be vaccinated?
we cannot, so Emily's working with the Department of Health.
Okay.
We cannot ask them their status or require them.
Is that because we're a municipality or?
I believe so, I'm not sure what we're not a private employer,
Okay,
we're a public employer.
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, but we actually have a rep that Emily works directly with at Department of Health, specifically assigned to our summer camp
okay.
to make
wonderful.
sure they're in compliance
Great.
with the code. But yes, even for the children, I think it's just, it is up to the parents. They're not telling them that you have to, but it's the parents' preference.
I mean, if the kids are 12, then they're obviously.
Right, and it's an outdoor program.
Yeah,
If
it's
we
outdoor,
were
so that
packing them
reduces-
inside as well, it'd be a little different, the rules, but since they're outdoor, it has a different. But it was great to have the county, you know, give us a point person,
That's
right,
great, yeah.
directly.
That's really-
Emily's
That
working
would help
directly.
make sure everything was in compliance.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I go with it.
I'll second.
Oh, all right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? No one. All right, thank you, everyone.
Oh, I'm not sure you're losing 2-0.
Oh, don't tell me
We
that.
got someone to turn off the,
Oh, that's just not fair. Ridiculous. Okay, dokey. And